What's up, Blue Nemesis? I'm back at it. This is Blue Nemesis Chevelle build. I'm back on the, I ain't gonna say the original, that's not true, but I'm back on the Chevelle. So I got the Dusty Beast out and we're doing some mark to it. I modified my hood, added some new vents because of the heat from the turbo manifolds have been creating extra heat on top of the hood here. So we're gonna pull in some extra air. We got the cowl still there. It's gonna let out the heat, pull in extra cool air right on top of the engine. What we're working on right now is, while I got it out, I took these mirrors off, right? Clean this off. I was gonna move the mirror to here, but I'm still thinking about, I haven't decided if I'm gonna put the mirrors back, put the mirrors here, or run no mirrors. I'm gonna make that decision. But what we're doing right now is torque related, right? So the engine, 454 aluminum racing head, Holley Super Sniper, Holley Hyper Spark. So it's all pretty much electronic control and fuel injected through the Holley Super Sniper. We got twin GT45s, right? And what we're having issues with is the torque converter first. We're having issues with the wastegates as well. I'm not 100% sure if the wastegates is not really the problem. The issue we have is like turbo spool. I have like issues trying to get the turbos to spool up. I don't believe the turbos are too big for the 454. The exhaust was restrictive, so I'm doing the exhaust again too. I had the cutouts, then I went open pipes. Now I'm gonna do something different. I'll take you guys through that later. But for right now, let me just get back to what I'm really doing right now. All right, I'm doing the torque converter. Long story short, we're replacing a torque converter. The cam calls, the Illuminati cam calls for 3500 stall. I have a 32 to 3800 stall in it right now, but the car really don't want to move until like 2500 RPMs, which is driving around the street, driving around town is way too high. At the drag strip, yeah, it lunges like a monster, rips the shit apart, and it's awesome. But I'm not taking this thing to the track as much. I really like driving that thing around, but I do like the old school. So I'm trying to find somewhere in the middle where I can actually start driving this thing more and putting more time into it. And with the turbos, I really don't need that stall converter. I need the turbos to try to build pressure, and it needs a little bit of resistance. It builds pressure faster under resistance than it does without resistance. Hence, we're gonna go from the 32 to 3800 to a stock stall converter. Right, and this is just a quick tip and a quick review. This stall converter that I have right here, I ordered from Chicago Transmission, and this bad boy is a big one. Now the one I have in there is a smaller one, which makes it's a more efficient when if it's a higher stall converter and the converter itself is smaller, it makes it more efficient at stalling at that speed. When it's a bigger converter and they convert it, they take it apart and then they change the angle of the fins inside. That's probably not the proper terminology for that, but bear with me. When they change the angle and they modify a big converter to make it operate as a smaller converter, it's not as efficient. Not to say that there's guys that don't do it very, very well. I'm just saying, from my basic knowledge, it's better just to have a small one. So the one I have in there, oh my goodness, it's easy to put in. It's easy to put in, it's easy to take out. It's like a little 10-inch guy. Easy to fill up with fluid, the whole nine. This, you can see, is a freaking monster. Six mountain boats. This is a monster, which would be on typically this low stall converter would be on like a big truck, or like the 454 in general, they were mostly in heavy duty trucks, some RVs and stuff like that. They were mostly torque motors. So until, really, I think in 67 Chevelle or 68 or 69, really they didn't have 454s. They had like 396s or somewhere around there. But regardless, it's the same build. And then I took that motor that was low torque well, high torque, but geared for low torque, and I made it a race motor. So I'm still having that torque, and that actually changes whatever the ratio I put in there. So the lower the stall I can put in there, the better that transition is going to happen with me getting the power to the wheels and everything for my particular combination. So for this, I've actually seen guys say, well, do you put fluid inside of it? Me, before you install it on the transmission. Myself personally, what I do is I'll pop this cap off, and I went to the auto parts already and got us some new fluid. Right, so what I would do, I'm gonna take this off. I'm gonna put a little bit of fluid in here, just so I like this much. And when I say this much, I mean if I stood this up, it'll be a little bit in here, you know, not enough to where it could spill out, but just enough to where it's actually lubed up. When I'm messing with it, I want to take the fluid in there, I'm gonna swash it all around, I'm gonna hold it, I'm gonna get it all lubed up first, and then I'm gonna go ahead and add my fluid. When I get it all mounted, I'll add the rest of the fluid of everything as you normally would do with your transmission. The only reason why I put a little bit in here before to get everything lubed up is because for me, as long as I'm not gonna spill any out and it's not extremely heavy to put on, it's better to have it already lubed before you, because you might end up with some air pockets, right? The pump is gonna work and pull fluid in, yada yada, blah blah. But that's all gonna go away pretty fast. But it's just safer and simpler to me to just make sure I have some fluid in there anyway, so there's nothing that's gonna be ever dry. Now, when they remanufacture these things, inside of those gears should all be lubed up anyways. Like if I feel in here, I can feel it. It's not dry inside. But depending on how long these things sit on the shelf or before they actually get back out to the customer, whoever's buying it, sometimes it could be dry in here. So if you just pour a little bit in yourself and you get it all lubed, you don't have to worry about waiting for the fluid to actually get there. And when the first time you put it in, you fill it up, you burp it, it might all go in right perfect. Maybe it doesn't go all the way perfect, and when you turn it on, you got a dry spot for a split second before it fills up. I just eliminate that, and I make sure everything is lubed before I do it. That's my tip. Hey, like it or love it, like, subscribe, it is what it is. Blue Nemesis. All right, here you go. This is a quick size comparison. I was gonna cut the clip, but I was like, man, maybe I should just pull it real quick and show you guys, right? So this right here is my 3200 to 3800 stall. Really, this thing is like a 4000 stall, 4500 stall inside of my particular combo. Now, if this was inside of a TH400 or 350 transmission that was in a mounted to like a 350 motor inside of a different car, excuse me, then it probably would stall around like 3500 RPMs. But in my particular car, with my big motor and turbo setup and heavy Chevy, it's not stalling like that. It's stalling higher than actually the 38. I believe it's when I actually punch it like at the strip or something, or just drag race it and I hold it and punch it, I think it really launches at like 4 something. I can probably hold it all the way. I can hold it probably to 30, 35 before it really wants to come loose. But when I go to punch it, I want to say 4 grand is where I'm at. So this big boy is the stock one we're putting in, which is actually rated between 1400 to, I want to say 1800. So realistically, this thing is probably going to stall inside the car. It's probably going to still stall. It's going to stall out at like 2 and some change. Let's say 2200, 2500. That'll be locked up. Even though it's supposed to lock up at like 18, it's probably not going to lock up at 18. It's probably still lock up at like 20, 25, 28. But it's going to do a better job on that lower, the first number. So where it's rated 14 to 18, this one is going to do a better job because of the size difference between this one, right? This one is really efficient a high stall because it's a smaller size. So it's more consistent at stalling at whatever that high range it is. If it kicks on, if it's, this one was supposed to be 32, 38, but realistically, let's say it was more along the lines of like 28, not 28, but 38 or 35 or 36 to like 42 or 43. So it's consistent at that because it's the small diameter. If this one was converted to operate it as this one, it will be less consistent because they changed the, we already went through that. Let's keep it moving. Basically, these two different, this is like, I want to say, this was an Alabama Boss Hog transmission setup or something. I can't remember exactly. This is Chicago. This is more of a stop. This is a high stall converter, right? This is what I would pick. When I'm looking at a stall converter, I'm going to look to see the size of a high stall converter versus someone selling me a high stall converter, which looks like this. That means they modify something in the inside versus just changing in the actual total capacity of it to make it more efficient. Hey, that's it. Like, subscribe, hate it, love it. It is what it is.